Welcome to Intro Skippers, your favorite podcast about what's streaming and the culture around it, presented by your friends with unique perspectives on entertainment because we work in it, we like it that much, Kim and Jason.
Hey, I'm Jason Charles Miller, an award-winning entertainer, and you are?
I'm Kim Horcher. I'm an award-winning entertainment journalist. So today we are talking about the Mythic Quest finale, Take 2. We already talked about the first finale,
right? But
then the show got canceled. We'll get into it. Hi, Jason. How have you been?
Pretty good. I just got back from a 9-day, 7-show whirlwind tour on the East Coast, which was capped off by an appearance at MTAC, which stands for Middle Tennessee Anime Convention.
Nice. I've never been to Tennessee.
It is a wonderful state.
Home of Nashville, which I'm sure you like.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends there, and I love writing music there. So,
and barbecue.
I've recorded some albums there too. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
What have I been doing? I went to the Ren Fair, and now I've got a touch of the brown lung.
No.
Just so much dust. That's why I'm a little nasal. Besides, I just sound nasal.
I do have one thing I need to clear up.
Yes.
Did you go to Coachella or not?
I didn't. Okay. I went to the Bernie Sanders rally,
Nice.
And then he went to Coachella that same day, and I was making a joke. Did you not get the joke?
I got the joke, but I looked at it so fast, I was confused.
Well, you got to inspect everything you see on social media because, as you know, not everything you read is real.
I can't believe it. But okay. Yeah, I figured you didn't, but...
No.
Yeah.
I'd be happier with my thousands of dollars. Thank you.
No problem.
No, I just went to the Ren Fair and I watched Sinners, which I cannot recommend enough. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. No spoilers, but go see it.
People
see
are
it
raving.
On the big screen.
Okay, great. I'm going to do it because people are raving.
It's so good. I think it's the best movie so far this year.
Awesome.
I had a great time. Oh, and since you love music, you're going to have a wonderful time. Yeah, this is going to be good for you. You're going to like it.
Okay. All right.
Music is a big part of this movie.
Cool. Like as in music that they use or like there's a music plot element?
I'm not going to spoil it at all. I'm just going to say music is a big deal.
Okay.
And I think you'll notice a lot that maybe I missed even with your music knowledge.
Great. I can't wait.
Yeah. But speaking of things that we can't wait for, Mythic Quest was canceled. And we heard news after that cancellation that they would be redoing the finale, right? And we talked about the controversial finale, which was, and I think you know that we're going to get into spoilers, so I'm not going to warn you. This isn't a warning. They kissed at the end, Ian and Poppy, and then looked really upset and shocked at what they had done. And they go, and then it just ends. Well, we were promised a redo, which means that could have had a lot of meanings of what that was. It could have been, something more conclusive of what will happen to all the characters. Is the studio going to be okay with the shakeup from Montreal? Maybe they would do a whole special with Dana and Rachel's wedding maybe, and then a summary of what will become of everyone.
Yeah, I mean, remember Netflix gave Sense8 a movie.
Yeah. And, I watched all of Sense8, but which one do I like better? They're so different. I would say Mythic Quest probably had more financial support behind it.
Yeah, well... Yeah,
based on nothing.
In the end.
In the end, yeah. Because they got 4 seasons and a spin-off and a few extra episodes that weren't in the seasons.
But Sense8 had to be expensive to film at the beginning when they were filming all over the world.
It's true.
So
well, maybe that's not something we need to litigate. But no. Essentially, we had all this lead up to what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Ultimately, they edited only about 30 seconds different from the original cut. Yeah, it's not that different.
Can we clarify? They just used existing footage, correct?
I think they did, because I saw some reports that are like, we're going to redo it. We're going to reshoot it even. But it's the final scene with only Ian and Poppy, and they look exactly the same. Yeah. I don't think anything was styled differently. I don't think I think it was actually just remaining footage from an alt take in case someone at the network had a problem with the kiss. Yeah. So essentially nothing was resolved. Instead of the kiss, there is no kiss, and Poppy decides to stay at the company in America and work with Ian again as co-visionaries. And that's about it.
Yeah.
So my problem with this is that it undoes Poppy's arc entirely. So she spent the entire season seeing what her life was like away from work. She built the machine, the art piece with Storm, which is about her working tirelessly with nothing else to her life or her personality. She got in a relationship with Storm. She's having a baby. This all sets her up to finally find some sort of long-sought fulfillment to fill the void that she never really quite got to with work and being at Mythic.
You're right. And now with sort of taking away the old ending, I would have preferred if they just kept it.
Well, yeah, I do too. I mean, as far as arcs go, this was damaging for both Poppy and Ian's characters. Ian and Poppy both needed to learn to be a person in different ways before they could rejoin eventually, which I would have expected at some point. But, we have to work with what we have to work with. But they both went right to the edge and turned back around from that journey. And at least with a cliffhanger, we would have been unclear about what happens next. Maybe, in that reality that we didn't change the ending, they both quit for real. Or maybe Poppy goes back to Storm and tries to figure it out, whether she stays with him or not after eventually. But she would have that lived experience. I mean, maybe they both at least continue the journey of personal growth that they were already on. But with the new ending, those possibilities and doors are closed. It's clear the status quo remains with the new ending, which renders their progression and journeys this whole season as moot, pointless. So ultimately, I did not like the kiss, but at least the kiss left room for possibility and movement and understanding at some point, a growth journey. But the characters, to me at least, clearly they should not be romantically linked. They should be platonic, ideally, but that was a lesson that needed to be learned. They needed to earn that.
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying is ideally there was a season 5, but barring that, I would have liked to have seen the road for progress still traveled instead of something showing definitively that it won't.
Those are great points. And without them learning what the accidental kiss could have changed about their lives, and without us as the audience learning that, it does seem very unsatisfactory. I rewatched the entire episode and I felt sadness the entire episode. Now when I watched it for the first time.
Did you watch the new ending first and then the whole episode, or the whole episode with the new ending?
I watched the new ending and then I went back and I watched the whole episode. But my mind knew that this was now the last episode. And so a lot of story arcs that seemed to have potential to be turned around in season 5, now that I know that there's not a season 5, it just made me sad. It made me sad that the show was ending. It made me sad that a lot of these characters' stories will never be resolved for us as the viewer. And it was a very strange feeling. Now, this has never happened really before that we know of, where a streaming service has gone back and switched it, and you covered that.
No, this has never happened. I mean, I did a TikTok about this, but
you covered it a little bit on your
patched the episode like the way that you would patch a video game. And the old ending, by the way, gone forever, unless you have a bootleg copy or you're someone filming their own TV with their phone on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the sad part. It is now lost media, and it wasn't media for that long.
No. I mean, could you imagine if we waited a couple weeks to do our other episode? Like even us talking about it wouldn't exist. Or maybe it would have, because we would have seen it.
I wouldn't have done that personally, but sure. Like, I would have never waited that long for a current season. I mean, I think what we do here is either very current stuff or stuff that is medium nostalgia or nostalgia.
Yeah. And in fact, I mean, I think we were, not to pat ourselves on the back, but I think we were the second podcast in the world to drop the Mythic Quest episode, because we dropped it as soon as we could.
Well, I have pitched this a lot professionally as a freelancer, and I'm not going to speculate as to why I didn't get these pitches approved and chose to do it on this podcast and my own social media, but I don't think it gets a lot of traction. I think the people who do care a lot, but I think there's a lot of people who just never got into the show.
Which is a shame, because I didn't get into it right away either. I got into it when season 3 existed and then binged. It's a great show, and I wish that more people were into it. And maybe because I have a unique perspective of not only working in entertainment but also working in video games to a certain extent. I've worked in development and story development, and also obviously as an actor and as a singer in a lot of video games. But I have worked in the development side and the story building side as well. So they got a lot of things right, in my opinion.
Really, because to me, I also worked in games, though. I worked in mobile games. I think a lot of it, I would say like half and half was right. Yeah. I thought the CW character did not ring true.
That was an odd addition. You're right.
Yeah, because the writers aren't old men who are failed fiction writers. They are very tuned into what they're doing specifically.
But they are. Did you think
current writers?
Did you think about CW this weekend when you went to the Ren Fair, and when you saw
I tried to never
chickens?
Think about CW personally.
That's fair. I don't either. But I just thought about his rotisserie chicken backstory.
Yeah, I don't remember what that is. Can you refresh me?
So the idea is that Ian was a huge fan of his writing as a kid, and it helped inspire him to make video games. And then he was at the Ren Fair and realized that his favorite writer was selling rotisserie chickens at the Ren Fair, and plucked him from obscurity.
Okay, so he saw he was having hard times and plucked him. That's great. That's good to have a second life in video game writing, which I have seen happen from people who write books and scripts for non-video game purposes. But I would say the most true character was David, truly.
Yes.
And to a lesser extent, Brad. And, there's some Ians too, but like...
Yeah, I mean,
most of the women characters weren't really on the mark, especially Joe. Joe's more of a cartoon.
Yeah, Joe felt like a character that should have been in another show.
Yeah, I mean, she's really funny, and I've appreciated what she's been doing, but it just didn't ring true to that element of being a video game studio.
I think the character of Ian wouldn't work if there weren't Ians out there. So I think you're right. I mean, Ian... There
are Ians out there. I've met them. They're just not as... They're not as big as the way Rob plays it, but they're pretty much, I am the singular vision, I'm a genius, and this is what it's going to be. And a lot of the time, they are not geniuses who should not be the singular vision. Right. But I digress, and I won't name names. Anyway, back to the episode.
Yeah, or the ending.
I was hoping for resolution on the other characters, and this was only... No, I don't even think it was resolution for Poppy and Ian, but it was about Poppy and Ian. I think essentially the show is about them more than it is about the studio, but I'm still curious about, what happens. Is Dana crappy forever now? Because she's been kind of a jerk this whole season. Is Joe just going to be unhappy? With no resolution, these characters are stuck in a chrysalis. And that's fine, because that happens with shows that get canceled before they're done telling the story. But I feel that I was overpromised that this is going to be a good series finale. We're going to fix it so it's a series finale. And I don't think it was. I think I'd prefer it stay the traditional way of canceled too soon. I guess these characters are, have all this potential and can be anything.
I wonder if the show's creators will look back in 6 months and say, maybe we should have just left it the way we had it. I don't know.
Or the answer, like it was with another Danny Pudi joint, could be a tie-up somehow, like a real finale, be it in the form of an episode, an in-between short, which the show has done before more than once, or a special. I don't think it's going to get a movie, but something. Maybe it wasn't popular enough to warrant what Community got or is promising to do. Mm-hmm. But, because we still don't have that movie, and how long has it been? I digress. But could there just be another thing shot to tie it up? They could all be on Zoom too. I don't care.
Yeah, I've got an even crazier idea. How about, look, all of those actors are, I'm pretty sure, LA based. How about a stage play, one night only?
Oh, like the It's Always Sunny play at the Troubadour?
Yeah.
That was so good, by the way. If you see that anywhere, audience, watch it. They do a on-stage recreation of The Nightman Cometh, which is one of the best episodes of the series. And Rob is in it, too. Just tying all these knots together.
He should just call the Troubadour. Let's do it. I'm
sure he has connections. Mm-hmm. Maybe he can get Ryan Reynolds to pull in a favor for him.
Yeah, maybe I know. Deadpool appears and murders the whole staff. There you go. Okay, maybe not.
Let's touch back on that.
All right.
I'm not a fan of that in particular. But I think my overall takeaway is, 1, they shouldn't have done this, or 2, they shouldn't have promised so much. But I do like the idea of, or do I? Let's just say I find the idea of patching a series or a TV episode very interesting, because it's never been done before.
I would have preferred if they reshot it and patched it.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's an overpromise. They shouldn't have said, we're reshooting it, we're redoing it. It's just, hey, we have a slight change to the finale, and we're doing the best we can with what we have, and we love the show. Good day. But here we are.
Here we are. I think the reason why you and I are doing this episode is because we both really have a fondness for this show.
It really grew on me. I really didn't like it at first, because it came out when I was working at the game company. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this isn't right. I was nitpicking it pretty much, instead of enjoying it for what it was, which was more of a story about people in a really weird situation.
Yeah.
And there's no other shows about a video game studio, so why are my expectations so high? So I have adjusted my point of view on it, ultimately.
Well, there have been scores and scores of movies and television shows about the music industry, and I have yet to see one get it even close to right. Which is unfortunate.
Let's change gears a little bit, actually, because it's not entirely changed. It's more of a shift, which is season 4 of Mythic Quest also came with another series that is like a sister series in a way, and that is Side Quest. So this was a 4-episode anthology series in the world of Mythic Quest. It featured all 4 episodes dropped on March 26th of this year. You can watch them. They are not patched over or removed in any way. And I think they were quite good. I'm a little concerned because it was so closely tied to what is now a closed loop. I don't think the future of this looks good, unfortunately, despite how good I found these individual episodes. When we look back at Mythic Quest, where it shined were the one-off episodes, I think. Everyone cites A Dark Quiet Death as the best episode of the series, and I think it's really hard to argue that it isn't. And that, again, was a one-off, sort of connected to the world vis-a-vis the building. And that's what Side Quest is, because the first episode is one of the characters who has been seen in the show before, and Ian is in it. But the other 3 episodes are completely different.
Right. They just sort of center around I suppose, the culture of Mythic Quest.
An element. Yeah.
Yeah. And the
but
fact that,
I think it's pretty loose, to be honest.
Yeah. I thought of something, now that we get no more episodes of Mythic Quest and probably no more episodes of Side Quest, Phil, the art director, is the only one that got absolute freedom from Ian Grimm.
Good for him. Derek Waters, you did it, man.
Yeah.
Actually, that episode, Song and Dance, was my partner's favorite because he is a creative / art director, like the main character, Phil. And I am positive, without knowing or asking, that Fugue, episode 3, is your favorite.
Fugue was my favorite for
of course it was.
Several reasons. Can I talk about it for a second?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. So I sing as a soloist for Final Fantasy XIV events. I sing 4 songs in the game, and we do various concerts around the world, sometimes with the composer's Soken's band, and sometimes with a symphony. So seeing that whole episode being about a touring video game orchestra, they got a lot of things right. They got some things wrong, but they got a lot of things right. And the overall feeling from that episode for me is I realized that specifically our cellist, our young cellist who sees a Mythic Quest concert when she's, I don't know, about 10 years old, and then gets inspired to play the cello, and then ultimately auditions for the Mythic Quest touring orchestra, gets the spot. It's almost like she wanted it so badly that once the shine came off, once the polish came off of this is my dream that I've always worked for, then that's when things started to unravel. And I thought they really did a great job showing that, especially with the, if you recall, the sort of gold thread that's sort of flying around her, like everything's
Yeah, that was
great.
a really good visualization of, what was it, the inspiration or the spirit of music? What would you call it?
Yeah, I would say the spirit of music is good, and also the spirit that was moving within her. And the first time that we as the audience discover that she is she makes a mistake is when she's on top of the world. The concert ends, everything looks great, and then Isai Morales, the conductor, looks at her and says, "You were flat." Then that's when things really start to unravel. But the way they showed that to us in further performances, I thought was really creative and cool, because what was happening is she was losing her ear, and what that is sort of a term where you are not, as a singer, what's coming out of your mouth is not matching what you want to hear, right? And so that's now happening to her as a player. But instead of showing her hitting wrong notes, they show us her point of view and show the orchestra hitting wrong notes, so that she can't get back to the orchestra because she thinks she's playing the right notes, and we hear everyone else hitting the wrong notes. And I thought that was a really brilliant way of showing it.
Yeah, that's not really how I read it, but that's because I don't know the difference. But
that's what was
maybe
happening.
Maybe you do.
Yes.
Yeah, I read it as like she was just having a hard time, and it was snowballing, and she was in her head and just not understanding and trying really hard, futilely, when you just try and try and try, but the real answer is to just stop.
Yeah. And, another thing that they showed that I thought was really accurate was she was a fan of Mythic Quest, and she was a fan of the Mythic Quest orchestra. But all those other players, it was just a job for them. There are those 2 characters that are sitting next to her that are always bantering with each other. And
I love that one guy. You stink. You smell so bad. Close your mouth.
Yeah, and they're hitting each other with their bows and things like that. Then the guy who sits in front of her has a weird thing on the back of his neck, and he keeps scratching it, and then becomes a horror film for a moment. And, oh, I'm going to see Paris, I'm going to see Prague. And then someone says, yeah, you're going to see the inside of the theater. That's what it's like to tour. When I tour, I've been all over the world, and the only time I ever saw Paris is when I went there on vacation, even though I performed in Paris 3 other times. That's just life as a musician. And I think
what do you do during the day?
You're at sound check. You're already at the venue. Sometimes you
all day?
Sometimes you have to be at the venue all day. Even if you now when I tour as a rock musician, I have a little bit more time, but imagine this. Not often are the venues right in the middle of the city. Sometimes they're on the outskirts of the city. So then you have to figure out, oh, well, I really want to go see this cathedral, but oh God, it's 30 miles away, and I don't know what the traffic is like, and I don't know if I can make it back in time for, my call time. So I guess I'll go to this coffee shop. We're on such a tight schedule, and we often don't get to see anything unless we have a day off. If we have a day off, a lot of us make the most of it, and we try to absorb as much of the city as we can. But if we don't, I had a day off in Bilbao, Spain once on tour, and I loved it. I saw anything I possibly could. I've played Barcelona twice, haven't seen anything of that city. Seen the people, in the venue, and seen the beautiful venues, but that's it. So they got a lot of it right, I thought.
Well, I think the best episode was actually Pull List. That was the Black-owned comic shop that only got 1 copy of the comic, and they fought over it, the 5 fans, or 4 fans and a dad.
Yeah, and a dad who didn't even know what it was, but he was getting it for his stepson.
I need it for my stepson, or he won't love me. I thought that was a really good one about gatekeeping, about fandom, about being in the Black community on this part of, comic fandom. And I like getting a look into different kinds of people, and we get to learn, this is for everybody. This is for everybody. Nobody should be gatekept. And it was interesting to have the character of Cherry, who was like, I think if the closest analog to her would be Jack Black in High Fidelity.
yeah.
Just the weirdo who hangs out at the shop and just won't shut up and pressuring other people. And, she was the gatekeeper. Usually it's not a woman of color, but to see her point of view where she was saying, this is all I have. This is important to me, and having her eventually see a different point of view, which is, no, this is for everybody. You can't push people out because they don't love it the way you think it needs to be loved. And there's so much potential there for friendship and community and really clicking and understanding someone on that level. I mean, I have a friend who recently moved from sort of my industry, which is nerd stuff, to regular news. And she was saying, nobody here knows what Baldur's Gate 3 is. Am I crazy? Because this is a global phenomenon, right? And I agree with her, but it's interesting to see different niches and enclaves tangentially tied in the most general sense, and how different they are. But at the same time, how much similarity there is. Though I will say, I don't think it was the best episode. The last raid, it was the one I connected to the most.
Yeah, the last raid was, from being someone who played many MMO RPGs and have been in guilds, as I'm sure you have too.
Oh, yeah. Have I ever told you I met my first boyfriend in an MMO?
No.
I did.
Well, now the world knows.
It really connects. That's why it connects, because I've done that. And guess what? We broke up, and it was my idea, and that's the way it should have been. Things happen.
Yeah. Wait, which part was your idea? The breakup or the getting together?
The breakup.
Got it. I have met so many people, touring the world, especially more recently, people that play Final Fantasy XIV that have met their significant other and gotten married from being in the same free company, which is the name for guilds in that game. And sometimes they even have a wedding in the game.
I did have an in-game wedding with my boyfriend at the time, but we didn't have a wedding in real life. I had a wedding with someone else. But I liked that one a lot. And I actually, in college, did a paper on using video games, MMOs rather, even just games where you can connect with other people as a new enclave community, like meeting people like you would at a bar or at some kind of common interest hobby event. And I think it's totally valid to meet your significant other or lifelong friends in a game. I mean, that's something that was really beautiful about the episode. Even though they all didn't stick together, they were all cool with each other and grew a lot, which made me really feel like it brought it home and it understood what it was doing.
I did like how they used almost, for most of the episode, everyone is in-game. And that actually reminded me of a Netflix movie called The Remarkable Life of Ibelin.
I literally recommended that movie the first episode of this show.
Oh, well,
do you remember that?
Yeah,
Ibelin.
Ibelin, yeah. But I wonder if they were inspired by that.
Maybe. I mean, I think these are just maybe different routes to the same conclusion, which is that you can absolutely make a real, true connection online through gaming, just like you would any other way. Like if you were in a softball league or if you were in a, chess club or whatever, or if you just found someone that you happened to see across the bar. I think it's totally valid and as true as anything else. I don't think my brain could tell the difference, to be honest.
Yeah, wow. I
will say one thing. I mean, after all of this, I adored Side Quest. I don't think it's coming back, but I don't know. I have no information on this, just based on how I know about how these things usually work. I think Ashley Birch has a very bright future after her work creatively on Side Quest and Mythic Quest, and I can't wait to see what she does next. I know you're friends with her. I don't know her personally, but she really shined as a creator, as a writer, as a director, and I think she's going places. I'm excited to see where.
I 1,000% agree.
All right. Well, I think with that probably brings our episode to a close.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we got it.
I think we did. And we're going to post this tonight. So this is one of the most recent timed episodes, one of them, that you'll hear from us.
Yeah.
I suppose.
That doesn't always happen.
No.
So don't get used to it. Just kidding.
No, do not.
Stick around.
Actually, the episode we planned on posting tonight, which is going to air in a week. I think we recorded that back in December or something.
Yeah.
So
well, there's just a couple banked.
Yeah. So, well, all right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Please listen to the outgoing dialogue. We didn't write it down. Bye-bye.
Intro Skippers with Jason Charles Miller and Kim Horcher is produced and edited by Kim Horcher and Jason Charles Miller. The name order doesn't really matter. Additional writing by Kim Horcher. Theme song and incidental music by Jason Charles Miller. Take it away, me. You can rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars only, please. And you might find your review read on a future episode. Got a question? Email us at introskipperspod@gmail.com. That too could be featured on a future episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Intro Skippers on your favorite podcast platform. All right, for getting this far, you get a reward. I stopped talking.